This is The Couple Next Door, script number 196 for broadcast Monday, September 29th, 2:15 to, what? 2:30 to 2:45, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The Couple Next Door, written by Peg Lynch and starring Peg Lynch and Alan Bunce.
What is it? What's the matter?
The school bus did not pick Betsy up.
The bus wouldn't take me.
All right, now stop sniffling about it. Crying won't do a bit of good, dear. Daddy can drop you at the school on his way to work.
Look, Daddy is already late.
Well, she has to go to school,
Look,
dear.
it's out of my way to go around the lake that way to go to the school. You said you made arrangements to have the bus stop for her.
I called the school last Friday as soon as they got our phone put in here. And I talked to some girl in the office, told her who I was. I said we had moved out here to the new place, and would she see that the school bus picked Betsy up today?
And the bus man wouldn't take me.
Wouldn't take you? What did she mean the bus man wouldn't take her?
I walked through the woods to the main road and stood there with Betsy waiting for the bus. Well, it came along, and I waved frantically. And finally, he slowed down and stopped, and I explained we were new out here. I told him we were living in the garage until the new house was ready.
Yes.
And I thought I should explain to him.
I know, darling, but you always go into such detail with perfect strangers about every... All right, I'm sorry. Go on. I shouldn't have said anything. Go ahead.
Well, he just said nobody said anything to him about it, and he couldn't pick her up, that's all. He said something about our being out of the limit or something.
Out of what or something?
I don't know. I didn't understand him. He said I should call the school.
Well, then call the school. I certainly don't know what he's talking about.
Well, I don't either. Remember when we bought this property, the real estate man said the school bus went right past here.
Yes?
Well, apparently that's what he does. He goes right past.
Well, you checked on it, didn't you?
Checked on what?
Well, I mean, didn't you ask at the school last spring?
Ask what?
Well, didn't you ask and make sure the school bus would stop here?
Well, no, I didn't ask. Well, don't look at me like that. Why should I ask? I didn't even think of it.
What?
The real estate man said that it did. I just assumed that he... Well, why didn't you ask? You never said anything about it either.
You mean here we are building a new house on the outskirts of town, and only now we find out that we're outside the school bus limit. Will you stop that?
I want to ride the bus.
I don't see where it gets anybody to have you yell at me and yell at Betsy.
Call the school. Call the school.
Visiting Europe this season? Well, you'll feel at home when you get there because CBS Radio has kept you in touch with people and places abroad right along. Just start college this month. Well, you'll have an easier time with those science and humanities courses because you've met leaders in both fields right here on CBS Radio. Looking forward to an active business season. The information CBS Radio offers daily about market trends, labor and management relations, and other developments in commerce and industry will all prove helpful when you make those important business decisions. How can CBS Radio do all of these things and still manage to keep you entertained? Well, that's easy to explain. CBS Radio is a network of many stations like the one you're listening to now. Because it is a network, CBS Radio can take you where things are happening on a moment's notice, whether they're happening at home or abroad, whether they're happening in science, in industry, or in entertainment.
Betsy, where's Daddy?
What did Miss Banks say?
Where is Daddy?
He's outside talking to Mr. Dibble.
Dear, I called the school.
What did Miss Banks say, Mommy?
Just a minute, Betsy. Really, will you, dear?
Honestly,
Please,
I've never known it to fail. Well, now we got another problem.
What is
Seems
it?
the building inspector was out here yesterday, and he doesn't like the way some of the wiring was done. It's all got to be ripped out.
Yeah, well, never mind that now, dear.
Never mind?
Well, let's
All
take
the wiring...
one problem at a time. The school bus will not stop here. We are within the 3/4 mile limit.
Why?
You have to live 3/4 of a mile or further to take the school bus. Well, that's what Miss Banks said. She's the principal, so she ought to know.
But that bus goes right
I
past.
can't help it. Betsy is not allowed to get on it.
What's she supposed to do?
Yes, what am I supposed to do?
Walk.
Walk?
Walk?
Yes,
Walk?
walk.
Well,
Miss Banks said Betsy now fell into another category since we moved out here. Betsy is now known as a walker, not a rider.
Betsy is supposed to walk on this lonely road around that lake. A 7-year-old child is supposed to walk darn near a mile to school.
Well, it is not a mile. We apparently don't even live 3/4 of a mile from the school.
Well, of course we do.
Well, maybe we don't. We are closer than we were in the other house. They built the new school on the outskirts of town because they expect the town to grow so in the next 10 years. And even though it seems farther...
We are certain.
The school is on the other side of the lake, and since the lake isn't big, maybe it isn't as far as we thought from here. And, you know, the road winds around like that.
You can't tell me that school expects a 7-year-old child, a second grader, to walk that lonely road by herself to school.
I'm only telling you what Miss Banks said. She was very nice about it, of course.
Nice about it?
Well, she was. She said she was terribly sorry. Those were the rules. Up to the 3rd grade, a child has to live at least 3/4 of a mile to school to ride the school bus. After the 3rd grade, it's a mile. At least I think.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm not quite sure what she said. I was so upset. I think she said that 4th, 5th, and 6th graders have to live, I believe, at least a mile from school to take the bus. Otherwise, they walk.
Oh, I don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
It's something like that, and if you're in high school, I think it's 2 miles.
But that is absolutely ridiculous. Walk 2 miles to school?
Well, for heaven's sakes, dear, Abraham Lincoln walked 10 miles
Look,
to
I don't
school.
care about Abraham Lincoln
Well, that's
walking...
a nice thing to say.
Well, I don't mean I don't care about him. I mean, well, you know darn well what I mean. Do you want Betsy walking to school on that lonely road?
Well, of course I don't. I wouldn't let her.
I want to ride the school bus.
And you are going to ride the school bus. I never heard of such nonsense in my life. Betsy, come on. You get your book bag or whatever you take to school. By golly, I'll stop there and I'll talk to this Miss Banks myself.
Well, I hope you can do something. It just makes me sick. I had just assumed when the real estate agent said the school bus went right past.
All right. Now, look, it is both our faults. We should have looked into it instead of just taking his word for it.
I know.
Daddy, I want to ride the school bus.
All right. Now, don't you worry about it, sweetheart. Your daddy will see that you do.
Well, I don't think you should promise her that. Maybe you can't do anything about it. Miss Banks said they had rules, and I suppose they do.
There are always exceptions to every rule.
Yes, well, I certainly hope you're right.
Yeah.
Miss Banks was awfully sweet about it, but she said there wasn't anything she could do, dear.
Well, now there, you see
well,
what I mean? Somebody says to you, oh, no, it's a rule, and right away you back down. Pete says, we are taxpayers. We got rights like everybody else, and nobody is going to tell me that my kid cannot ride the school bus.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Piper. Won't you come in?
Oh, good morning, Miss Banks. I won't keep you but a minute.
Oh, that's quite all right. Won't you sit down?
Yeah.
I'm afraid my office isn't quite as tidy as I'd like it, but at the beginning of the school year, there's always so much to do.
Oh, well, I can imagine, yes. Thank you. Well, as I said, I won't keep you but a minute. As you know, I guess we're building a new house on the hill over there on the other side of Rainbow Lake.
Yes, what a lovely view you must have.
Oh, yes, we do. That's the main reason we bought the property.
Yes, we've driven around there, and it certainly looks lovely.
Oh, well, we hope it will be. The house isn't ready yet, so we're sort of camping out, you might say, in the garage.
Well, I'm sure that even that must be rather exciting.
Oh, yes. Well, anyway, the real estate man assured us when we bought the property that the school bus went right past...
Oh, yes, the bus does take the lake road.
Well, our property isn't right on the road. I mean, we bought the lakefront property. You see, we're a bit back from the road, through the woods. We're going to have to finish our own drive through to the main road.
Yes, of course.
Well, anyhow, Miss Banks, I felt that perhaps my wife did not explain to you completely on the phone this morning.
Yes, I understood entirely, Mr. Piper.
Well, then I know that you must surely agree with us that Betsy is far too young to be walking to school, especially along that lake road, which is not heavily populated.
Yes, she really is.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just nonsense, you know. I mean, with a bus going right past on the road, not to stop and pick Betsy up.
Yes, I know, and it's really...
Yeah, well, I guess nothing more remains to be said then. Told my wife that I stopped in to see you, that I was sure you'd see our point of view.
Oh, I do indeed, Mr. Piper.
Yes.
You see, that's the trouble. I know exactly how you feel, and I certainly sympathize. However, there is nothing I can do about it.
What?
Oh, it's indeed a very unhappy situation, and I do feel so sorry for the fringe children, as we call them.
The what?
The fringe children. You know, those who live just on the fringe of the bus limits. You must live at least 3/4 of a mile from the school.
We do have our rules, you know.
Now, look here, Miss Banks. I am a taxpayer.
We all are, Mr. Piper.
Well, for the love of Mike, the bus goes right past. Don't you understand? All that bus driver has to do is pull up and stop and let Betsy get on.
We have our rules, Mr. Piper. Now, if we make an exception in one case, then we must make it for others. And I can assure you that there are many, many children who unfortunately have the same problem.
If there are so many, then why aren't more school buses put on?
School buses cost money, Mr. Piper. And the school appropriations bill was voted down, as you may recall, last spring. Oh, of course, I don't know which way you voted, but you can see that we do need more money. The difficulty is that parents never realize it until it's their child who becomes...
I voted for it, I think. The point is, Miss Banks, rules or no rules, I do not intend to sit back and do nothing about this. Now, just tell me, who's in charge of the school buses?
Well, you can write a letter to the Transportation Advisory Committee, Mr. Piper. I doubt if it will do you much good.
If you'll just give me the name, please.
Yes, of course. Now, I want you to understand that we're all really very sorry about this, and we do sympathize with you. But we do have rules.
Yes, I do. I understand. I'm not blaming you, Miss Banks. You have been most sympathetic. I'm sorry if I've been unpleasant.
No, I quite understand, Mr. Piper. Now, if you care to, you can write to Mr. Ralph Wickersham. He's chairman of the Transportation Advisory Committee.
Oh, right. No. I want some action, Miss Banks. I want it now. I intend to call on Mr. Ralph Wickersham.
Well, for goodness sakes, how did you happen to pick today to come home to lunch? Here I am washing clothes and everything is so inconvenient anyhow, dear, without my dryer hooked up or anything. I'm sorry, dear, our garage home is just a mess. Well, what's the trouble? Oh, did you see Miss Banks this morning?
I saw Miss Banks this morning.
What did she say?
They have rules. The only thing I can do is write a letter to Mr. Ralph Wickersham of the Transportation Advisory Committee.
Did you?
I did not. I phoned Mr. Ralph Wickersham of the Transportation Advisory Committee.
Yeah, well,
He's out of town.
Oh.
Yeah. So I called him Mr. Paul Symington, who informed me that he would be glad to take up our problem at the next committee meeting, but he did not feel that much could be done about it because we are within the 3/4-mile limit.
Oh, we are within the limit. Oh, wonderful.
No. We're not within it. We are within it. We should be out of the limit.
I thought the whole trouble was that we were out of the limit.
Oh, you are we are within the limit that the bus does not... What I mean is we are out... Well, I tell you, I'm so mixed up. I don't know what I'm saying. We have to be at least 3/4 mile away from the school.
Yeah, well, that's what I said this morning.
And do you know where the limit is? Do you know where that line is? Do you know where the 3/4-mile limit stops?
No.
100 feet beyond our property line.
What?
Yes, that's what Mr. Symington said. Oh, he knew exactly where we were. We are approximately 100 feet short of being 3/4 mile from the school. So Betsy cannot take the school bus. For 100 feet.
Is there anything we can do about it?
I don't know. I'm certainly going to try. I'll tell you
if I'm
that.
going to have to take her to school and pick her up, we'll have to get another
Outrageous.
car, a second-hand one, right away.
I know.
Why,
Oh,
dear.
golly, blow after blow. I'm asking you, will it never end?
Sit down, dear. I'll fix you some lunch. Really.
100
I
feet
know.
short.
I
Our
know,
property
I know,
won't just
I know.
won't allow it.
The Couple Next Door is written by Peg Lynch and stars Peg Lynch and Alan Bunce with Francie Myers and Beatrice Pons and is produced by Walter Hart. This is Stuart Metz, inviting you to listen again tomorrow for The Couple Next Door.